VESL is back and better than ever. Welcome to the Southeastern Conference. I'm Todd Delight. That right there is Kevin with a K. However, I'm not sure how else you'd spell it. Kevin, moving into our first week of broadcast here, qualifiers for the $45,000 VESL finals, and a heck of a lot of prize pool down the line for some of these teams should they qualify through this. Couple teams as well we'll see later on today, but the Southeastern Conference, we've narrowed it down a little bit past our other 6 broadcasts running this week.
That's fantastic. I did not realize how much money was on the line, and I hope that these players do, because I know that some of these games are hot, but coming prepared is more important than anything else.
Hey, that preparation hopefully will come a little bit, we'll say sooner than we've seen in some other leagues. Now, notably enough, this is high school broadcast. This is VESL, the Varsity Esports and STEM League, if you're unfamiliar. This is North Carolina high school teams and high schools themselves that sometimes have multiple rosters. It is supported by the North Carolina state government. Honestly, the coolest thing I've seen government do in a little while, so, shout out to them. And the fact that this is supported in that way also allows almost every single high school in North Carolina, the state as a whole, to get involved in this. It also creates a lot more competitive conferences because there's just more teams.
Love that. If you only hear it once in your life, shout out to the North Carolinian government, straight from TTL. Now we have Havelock versus Northside for our first match here of the day. What are we looking at here? We have one team fully locked in with a fairly unorthodox comp for Ascent.
Yeah, one's locking in. I'm going to say it's not too far outside the realm of normality. Running double initiator here is not absurd, but running a fade instead of a KO, you still have that information gathering ability. I'm going to say it's still a little bit surprising that you're running the fade there, but fade used to be meta. I'm not going to say it's absurd for her to become meta once more. Phoenix, sometimes it's up to your own preference. Some players like Phoenix and the flashes they bring. Some players just don't like Jet, myself included, at least not playing Jet. I don't like playing against Jet either, but that's a different conversation. And Northside, they're bringing the stock standard Ancient or Ascent selection. This is, I'm going to say, not absurd, but also not as normal as one would think.
Agreed with that entirely. Yeah, stock standard is right. It is the most picked team comp in pretty much every high-level league or queue that you can see. You have the Jet to hold down either, if needed, at cat or mid, kind of just playing that area right there. We've seen a shift from double duelist on Ascent from like the last year to double initiator, like you were mentioning. You used to run that Raze Killjoy combination on B site, but we're subbing that out for the KO for additional information and initiation as site lockdowns have gotten a little bit more fleshed out in recent years.
Yeah, and you also have a lot more utility on the attacking side that can really disjoint the we'll say, former combination of what was that Raze Killjoy combination. I'd like to see a Raze and a Fade. This used to be a thing when Fade first came out, where they'd run a Seize Paint Shell combination, usually down Haven, A long, just yeet a Seize into A lobby, followed up with some paint shells, and magically enough you have a round victory in and of itself. But we haven't seen that in a while. And honestly, there are not that many pieces of utility that would combine with a Seize as well as paint shells. So if you're not running the paint shells alongside it, if let's say your duelist is just not comfortable in the Raze, I'd say a Fade could just be discounted entirely. I'm also a little bit biased towards KO, not only my main, but basically just makes the game Counter-Strike temporarily. I mean, you think about it. You have flashes, that's Counter-Strike. You have what's basically a Molotov, that's Counter-Strike. You have a knife that takes away everybody's ability, that makes it Counter-Strike. And then your entire primary ultimate takes away everybody else's abilities inside a radius. Unless you're taking 45-meter fights, it becomes Counter-Strike again.
I love that. That's a fantastic way to look at that. I've not thought about that when picking KO, but you're entirely right. You usually think about the pop flashes as a Counter-Strike thing, but it's a lot more than that with KO.
Basically just makes the game from, tactical hero first-person shooter to just the tactical first-person shooter side of things. Different Molotov, arguably closer to Counter-Strike. That one misses. I promise I'll probably only bring it up 1 or 2 more times. But in this game, the attacking side has really slowed things down after what was an attempted quick B rush. Now, they did pick up the orb. They've at least made sure that Havelock have to focus on that side of the map, and you can see the rotation because of it on the map. But in the process, they haven't sprinted it over towards A. They've gotten towards A, I suppose, but they haven't legged it that direction entirely, nor have they gone mostly A main. It seems like a split 4-1 as of right now, with 4 players going towards the only A defender, and Face Smoocher has turned around. They are going to be back of the head Smoocher with a ghost. Say goodbye as Rizmaster finds the opening.
That's rough, and we're going to see a big breakout on the A side now. So Sova and Fade did rotate over quickly, but that actually worked out more to the detriment than the benefit, as Sova gets picked off before the rest of the team is there to retake.
It's not becoming a great start to this. Northside, good pistol, does help when your jet's mechanically gifted. Haunt out will find information and force Rizmaster back. They'll also take a decent bit of damage. Headshot will be found. Trash Boat still will fall though. It's just a textbook start to this opening pistol. The recon will find it. Will we see an ace? Indeed we will. No time wasted for the Rizmaster. I gotta say, I hate the name, but you can't hate the player. It's already around for Northside.
A quick ace, closing that out and getting Phantom with full shields on the next buy. I love that. We're going to see if probably one of them is going to hold on for a hero gun for the next round, or if they're just going to full buy out. We're actually seeing some Ghost light shields coming out on the opposite side here. On defense, that's kind of surprising to me. You know, if you're doing a light buy on offense, you have the chance to get that plant money. But we're going to see some poor people next round if they don't win this.
Imagine they do win this, though. Just imagine for a second the chaos that would be created after Rizmaster aces pistol. He's already an ultimate point away from Bladestorm, and it's the start of round 2. There's no way you immediately pop Blade here. You'd probably save it for like round 3, maybe round 4 if you end up dying. I wouldn't be surprised if Rizmaster's the person to be the catalyst to every opening fight. Magically, you have Bladestorm already. I think that's the quickest Bladestorm I've ever seen in Valorant. Unironically, not even a joke.
So fast, able to get 2 with the Phantom, really breaking out here, not at all worried about losing the Phantom because there are not enough people on site, and they have full control here as Recon ult gets into the smoke. Peeks out a little bit too far for that one.
Imagine the double ace. That was very close to being 10 consecutive kills that anybody else becoming impacted will say. Gothic will do some chip damage, but nothing consequential. This round, let's be completely honest with one another here. Gothic will win the Doppelganger duel, and it's a 1 versus 4 for the Fade, who has to nearly fully disengage. Fragment will not land where intended, but at least it will still force the Fade back, who has now been seen inside of spawn. Nixhorn needs to, I don't know, turn around. Quandale Dingle has certainly heard and seen this Fade. It's not like it's a mystery as to where they are. The ping will give it away, Gangy turns away at the wrong time, and Quamst will win the fight. Northside 2-0 off the back of an ace and a 3K from their jet. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna see some poor people from the side of Havelock. I mean, I don't think that we're gonna see a Phantom no shields. That's a little bit high risk. So that was honestly like such a high risk and medium reward play that they decided to pull out here. If they wound up winning that round and they come into the next round with full buys, that's like normally fine, right? That's not a big issue, but it's so like the risk is just too high for the reward.
Get out of my way!
The problem also is this becomes a much more cohesive bonus, except for Rizmaster popping a Bladestorm like I honestly thought they would, should they have died in that previous round. And now, they get absolutely one-tapped by the Marshal from distance. Seems like lesser weaponry can still be very impactful when placed in the right hands, or in this case, when the crosshair is placed on the right head.
Seeing this hold down mid, I like this. It's just getting some solid control. We're going to see this classic play from the attacking side again, smoking off mid and trying to walk up Cat, but since they are a man down, it is a little bit scary. I like the jump peek out, but again, high risk option there when the entire enemy side has guns that can kill you relatively quickly. You know, it's a little bit high risk, and walking out with a Marshal is even higher risk. Gets seen.
Doesn't even shoot the turret. I mean, the gall on Face Smoosher right now to play in the middle of mid, Turret looking in his general direction. The smoke at the bottom of mid is going to dissipate. He does have some support from Catwalk, but one player's just crossing. Quandale Dingle, seeing out, will find that kill. No immediate trade from the coverage that was up above, and now a 4 versus 4 develops. Quandale Dingle will force themselves back, but a swing in through mid. Watch out for Nixhorn, close range with the Vandal. Finds one, flashed around the corner. The curveball will turn into lethality for Trash Boats, and it makes it a 2 versus 3, and they've yet to take actual B control. Enigmatic is smoked off. The site control should be there, but they need to start that plant sometime this century. Left. What are they waiting for? A written invitation? There we go.
Gothic gets the plant down. This is looking a lot rougher than it should have been for a weak bonus coming out from Havelock. As they try to make the retake here, they do have some guns on their side, and it's going to make it really difficult to hold this. They are so shallow here in a numbers disadvantage.
Yeah, 12 HP left over for Quandale Dingle as well. The Owl Drone certainly sees where Gothic is. A 12 HP clutch is absurd, and that's exactly why. Only a single bullet from most weapons in the game of Valorant would have done that. I think if Enigmatic even breathed in that general direction, it probably would have been lethal enough. They'll even be ever so courteous as to give over the defuse to the Sova for the extra ult, even though they're much further away from their Hunter's Fury. Either way, it's Havelock with their first. Bonus is denied, and we see at least the Rams on the board to start.
Now we're kind of just in a reset position here, where I honestly, you know, it's looking at their money right now, it's looking actually a little bit more beneficial than just a hard reset. They had a bonus round where they started with some weaker guns, wound up winning, but they're not coming in here with any sort of money deficit at all. They actually have a surplus against another save round from Northside. So I wouldn't necessarily call it big brain, but the reward here is a lot bigger than I thought.
5 players stacked up outside of A. If I am, I will say, a third-party observer, I am very concerned, mainly because I can see everything, and secondarily because I can see where Havelock is not, and that is mostly around the A main position. You've got your Fade occupying the backside of Generator. We do see a fairly quick rotation from the Sova to go Heaven, but that 0 point suppresses both initiators. Now's the time to go. What are they waiting for? Again, written invitations? It's not like Havelock's handing them out at every site.
To try to walk in here. They didn't get any information. They gave time for pretty much the entire enemy team to rotate over here, and now they're trying to break through. The both teams looking for a pick here, and Havelock's going to find the first one. That's going to make this very difficult, and now they're running away. This is the most telegraphed play of all time.
I don't think I've seen something more obvious since I saw them through the wall doing it maybe 2 rounds ago. Or 3, whenever they did that in the pistol round. 3 rounds ago it was. Semantics being what they are. But this rotation, again, is so discernible. I didn't even need X-ray vision to tell you this was going to happen after that opening engagement. And now as they walk on, luckily they're walking onto a fairly unoccupied B site, and somehow 4chan is looking the wrong direction. Apparently the 404 not found sign went their direction before the website went up. But at this point, it's free control if they start to walk in. Turret will go off, so too will Alarm Bot, or the Nanostorm, sorry. And Face Smoosher just walks out without any help. This is how you lose eco rounds. Giving away too many 1v1s, and a spike's gonna go down because somehow nobody's on the site.
I'm shocked that this is how this was played out from Havelock. After having that numbers advantage, not resetting a little bit or prepping for a rotation there. They had people mid, they actually got one picked off because they weren't looking the correct direction, and now it's falling apart at the seams. Trashboat does have one, trying to get back on the site here, finds a second one, looking for a third. The ultimate got a lot of value.
Hey, that's more than enough. 2 versus 2 not created. Trashboat saw one, but do they clear Tetris? Remaining. They will at least find Gothic. The jump off, though, putting yourself in the wrong position is Qualms. Moving in accuracy and landing in accuracy combined for a very, we'll say, not-so-lethal combo on your own direction. Lethal from a different one. Another multi-kill. This time it's Trashboat with 4, saying, anything you can do, I can do almost as well because my teammate found an opening pick.
Sheesh. I mean, great save round, or a light buy at least from Northside. You know, they've got some good money in their pocket. They forced one light shield from the enemy team. Actually, it's not even a force. Trashboat could buy his teammates, choosing not to. But in any case, a pretty solid reset from Northside, all things considered. Not solid in the execution, but solid in the end result.
My one caveat to that round is, at what point do you say, hey, we have an advantage here, we should not be playing it like an eco anymore?
Right.
That's probably the 4v3s you're planning to spike, right? I'm going to say, notably, to start, why is your Jet still playing near the button, taking 1vx scenarios when you don't have any smoke cover? And when you have primary weaponry picked up, you need to play around it with your secondary weaponry. So your sheriff should have been there for the trade immediately, rather than tucked on the site elsewhere. Now, in the follow-up, there is again a buy here for Northside instead of having to retrieve guns from fallen opponents. But the issue is they're doing arguably less with it, which is about as ironic as things get. They have more mid control than they did in the previous round, but they're not doing much with it. There's one from Nixhorn, but Face Moocher has not been seen. Somehow there's tree control. Face Moocher has not been seen, but Trashboat wants to get aggressive, and there's just chaos in mid, while Face Moocher finds 2 more. They're on a 3K. They're looking to swing for 4. They'll find it as well. And Quamst, the original person they tried to fight to start off the round, is the last one that's going to swing them. Will the ace be given over? Trashboat is decidedly waiting to give their Omen the opportunity, but it just seems like it's going to be delayed rather than denied.
Yeah, with this round all but over, I can't help but wonder what Rizmaster was doing there. Walked out into mid, was stuck in that corner between Cat and mid entry, and stayed there for pretty much the better part of a minute. Did not move at all, did not peek anything, and was kind of relying on their teammate top mid to get some action happening there. It wasn't actually able to make anything of it. Wound up just getting flashed and dying anyway, so no value came out of their entry jet. No value came out of re-peeking and re-peeking and re-peeking again, and they just lose in such a commanding fashion as Trashboat takes out the last.
I can confidently say that is the first time I've seen somebody below the age of 20 not hunt down an ace when they have a massive advantage. It's a shocker. The discipline is unmatched from Havelock. And Northside, the round itself, I'm going to say from the start, could have gone your way, but you just didn't take advantage of the crossfires you had. Instead, you allowed opposing crossfires to be set up, and you just didn't kill Face Smoocher somehow. How the Omen was not noted and then killed is beyond me, but that's a conversation maybe for a different time. Northside do have a couple ults on the board, From the Shadows and the Null Command, whereas From the Shadows is the only ult on the board for Havelock. At least there's that advantage, but even then, I think Trashboat just saw Rizmaster. They certainly did. Somehow a headshot to the wall only does about 35 damage or so. So nothing consequential there, and From the Shadows finds even more information for Havelock. Magic how that works.
Yeah, not playing the Sova on B-side defense means that the Killjoy setup is very, very defensive in its placement, which also means that it's not the easiest thing to break into. It's very scary if you don't have a reliable way to break the utility, and the only way that you have a reliable way to break it is if you know where it is. They kind of know where the turret is. They don't know where the alarm bot is. I mean, it's pretty, sure that it's mid, but yeah, now they're just shooting at... Oh, man, they can't even find it.
No, they can't find the alarm bot. They can't find the Phoenix. Good swing, though, off the back of the Paranoia. It takes a few more shots than Rizmaster would have liked, but at least they get out alive and retain the man advantage after that trade a little bit later. Now, at this point, Havelock has rotated a lot, and this is a great call from Northside. They still understand that the Killjoy's alive, so all their utility placed down earlier is still very much applicable to the round, and because they made all that noise with the player advantage on the B side, they know the rotation has to be baited. So instead, they disengage, go a different direction, get a free spike plant, and don't cost themselves anything, while Rizmaster gets so far forward and dies? What a shot from Gangi.
What a double peek, honestly. That was really, really well timed, and Rizmaster didn't stand a chance. So now it's a 3v3 retake with some utility available for both sides. Let's see if they can make it happen.
Prowler missed, so they may not clear under. The real question is, do they? No sound has been made A main. No sound has been made under. The swing, however, will go through. Gangi finds Quamps looking at the ceiling. They can't kill you from up there, and you can't return fire the same direction. Face Smoocher will find Gothic. It becomes a 1 versus 3. The Nanostorm at least will deny or delay this defuse. But the spray through somehow doesn't become lethal. They have a body blocker in front of the spike. Shoot again! They find the clutch. Quandale Dingle finds a 4K. And Northside, with 0.3 of a second remaining, will tie things up. What in the world is going on?
I don't mean to be a negative Nancy here, okay? I don't. But they both stood on top of Spike together under a one-way, so they weren't even able to shoot back. I guess I understand the inclination is that the defuse is so close to the end of time that you want to be able to instantly start it again if one person dies. But that's the logic there doesn't really work, right? Because if one person dies, the other person still has sights on you. And in fact, they don't even have to move their crosshair. They can just keep shooting and you're going to die anyways. Yeah. Which is exactly what happened.
So, if you're trying to body block there, what you have to do is as soon as that first smoke falls, the one that was in A main, you have to be taking a fight while still sitting in front of your teammate. You are the body block and the duelist at the same time. You can't try and become both while also not having vision to return fire. which is a slight oversight, but I've seen more tragic plays at a much higher level. So, good idea from Havelock. Maybe a little bit better execution is required down the line. Run it back is popped fairly early here as they want to try and get back in. The lockdown prep will, we'll say, deny that CT presence, and magically they have the site. But the plant not immediately coming through. You need to take advantage of that lockdown much quicker, and Rizmaster's so low. There are 3 players vulnerable, and they still haven't found an opening pick.
Now it's going to be a 5v5 retake with a lot of utility available for Havelock as we try to break out here. Nixhorn is trying to stuff them out.
What? 4chan didn't see him. What? Oh my gosh.
Okay.
And 4chan somehow wins the fight. It becomes a 3 versus 5. Nightfall thrown through. A small kitchen sink being tossed onto the B site alongside all this utility. Rizmaster is seen under that heaven position and easily swung by Trash Boat. It becomes what is a 2 versus 4, but the From the Shadows out to outside that site gives Gothic the extra line of sight he needs, but Enigmatic, a good reswing offside of that spike, will give Havelock the lead back. Back and forth is this game, Kevin. And about as pinstriped as this one gets.
The potential was there with Quamps using the From the Shadows back out to B main and then coming back in. I like the concept, right? Unfortunately, Gothic X died so quickly that there was no delay able to allow you to walk back there. So you essentially had to try to swing very carefully, take 3 individual fights, or maybe an educated 2 with one person defusing. And the other person actually got off the bomb, so you might have had time to do it, but there's no way for you to think that quickly in the moment. So it was a good try from Quamps, but ultimately, Northside as a whole crumbled under that retake.
So, you've got another 5v5, and this one, we'll say, doesn't favor Northside as much as maybe the last couple have, but with lesser weaponry, we've seen them do some insane things, and we're seeing Rizmaster bait their Killjoy while handing over a Sheriff. I think the goal here is for Rizmaster to try and pick up an ultimate orb, and then maybe pop the Bladestorm late. For some reason, they've completely foregone what is a free ultimate orb and given it over to their Killjoy for the lockdown, maybe later down this half line, but everybody's been seen on this A side. They have to dedicate themselves at one point or another. They've got a flash for it. Rizmaster wants to go for shots if they can find them, but absolutely nothing coming their way. And a recon bolt, there's all the information. There's another disengage.
5 people there. Direction. Yeah, Rizmaster can dash all they want back to mid. They're still not going to beat out the speed of Trash Boat, who's already in cat and winds up getting the kill back. And now it's just numbers advantage. Yes, it's a save round, but you got to be decisive on these save rounds.
So, what do you do from here?
30 seconds left.
You've still got sheriffs. You haven't initiated them to a site, but you have expended a decent bit of your health to do so. Flash is available. For some reason, you're swinging without even throwing your 0 point beforehand. Your 0 point hits both players, sure, but even without utility or abilities, they don't really need that as long as they have weaponry and some teammates in tow. Face Smusher wins that fight, make it a second. You're swinging a classic, make it 3. Quamps is going to have to 1v5 in 6 seconds with one player a complete country mile away, and Face Smusher will bait a swing, somehow still die, but it's not going to matter. 4 players stay alive. Havelock have finally made a statement and found some consistency on their defensive side. They'll create a 2-round lead for themselves.
All right, I'll chalk it up to a save round, and we don't have to talk about that anymore. That was hard to watch there. I mean, they did what they could. I could see the vision, I guess, with trying to get a kill mid on your Killjoy so that getting a quick pick, and then you still have the Jet to engage with full shields. I could maybe see the vision there. Unfortunately, just stuffed out by better guns and better aim.
Sometimes players are just better. That is the case. That's why Ascendant and, we'll say, Silver is a different rank. Skill-based matchmaking does exist. Not really in competitive play like this, though, so naturally we are going to see some skill disparities. Hence the reason we saw an Ace in round 1, 4K in round 4, and Chaos in nearly every round since. But a 5v5 at this point by no means leads an easy round win again for Havelock. Yes, they have better weaponry and yet another round. But no, by no means are they completely favored. Remember, a lot of utility still available for Northside. They've been pretty decent with using it. I'll say lackluster in the last couple rounds, but maybe they're having a couple off rounds. It happens. An opening pick already found on this B side, but that baits up so much utility and could very well bait out a rotation with only one player seen in A main, yet the rotation still coming in the direction of A. Watch for this rotation be caught out in mid. 4chan, take your gun out, take your gun out! How in the world does Rizmaster not kill you there? What in the world is going on?
And then Rizmaster smokes it off because they were afraid of the Sova with knife. You know, gave all of the recovery back. And Face Moocher finds a kill there.
Left.
So there's only one person on A side. They have all 4 in A main. This might be possible if they just break out now. And they do, and they're finding the opening that they need. Gothic X kills Face Moocher, and now they have full site control as the rest of Havelock rotated away.
This rotation was perfectly baited by the opening pick found on the B side. And the lockdown, they thought they were creating space with it. Instead, they were giving away free space on the A side. Now this retake has to be fairly quick. Spike already ticking. There are nanoswarms on the spike itself. And a player advantage still retained with that follow-up kill. Gangi a nice kill onto Quamps, but nothing definitive starting to go Havelock's way. And this rotation needs to speed things up. Bladestorm's still available, but probably won't be used. The one issue is the Killjoy's playing on the site. Not a very good position to try and play those nanoswarms, and that's exactly why. Gangi finds the angle they were looking for. Enigmatic alongside Gangi can try and drop into hell and find the kill they're looking, but Gothic swings from main. Rizmaster perfectly baited into the fight. Well played in the post plant from Northside. Not perfect, but it doesn't have to be. It's a round win regardless.
Exactly right. And it was needed. As we approach the end of this first half, you want to keep it as close as possible. You don't want to have to rely on winning the last couple of rounds to even things up. So it being 5-4 with both teams around the same level of economy, it's really about how they execute on this round with 4 ultimates available.
So it becomes yet another round to decide whether we're tied up or a doubled up lead is found once more. And again, it's Havelock having some, we'll say, indiscretions in the earlier stages of each round. Watch how mobile they become without really anything happening on the north side. This attack really hasn't done much. They've made very little noise. They've done nothing towards the mid side. That's seen by the defense right now. But because of this lack of information, Havelock is left guessing and moving much more than they may have to otherwise. While Nixhorn sounds like a small herd of elephants, and they're trading over guns. They do need those guns. They know that, right?
You see both those blinds come out. Both teams paranoid for a brief moment, but nothing really doing on either side. One was theoretically to stuff out the engage, but they didn't want to engage to begin with, and the other one just thrown towards market. You know, no paranoia also means that Face Moocher has no way to reliably aggress and gets killed by Enigmatic.
Not to be landed. Oh, it is. That's the spike, and a lot of information to play off of as well. Where the haunt lands is very important there. It does not reach tiles. That only extends into mid, so they don't see all 4 players, or remaining 4 players on Northside, locking into tiles, but they may not have to. Everybody and their mother swinging this fight. It becomes yet another 1vx for Northside. This time it's Nixhorn in said 1vx scenario. It's a 1v3 for them to retain. And the information's going to be gained. Owl Drone will see them, and they're going to be swung from B main. I give it maybe 4 seconds on their life. They'll swing towards mid. 2 players will swing them. They had a 3rd behind him anyway. That was a round done from not the start, but certainly before the finish. And Havelock at least lock in here, Kevin, a tied-up score before the half, and they can even grow that before we swap sides.
Yeah, despite Face Moocher taking an early death there and temporarily swinging the numbers in favor of the defenders, the space that they got from that push up was what secured that round win for Havelock. They were able to get all of the presence mid, and because of how much time was spent and utility was wasted in B main from the side of Northside, they had no way to really aggress back or even know who was where, and Havelock just kind of pinched on them in a nice way.
So the Marshal's back out for Face Moocher. We saw this in round 3. It was very successful. Even took out a Blade Sword before it even had the chance to fully unwield itself. So the issue here, you're still playing up against fairly decent weaponry and the unpredictability of a, we'll say, pseudo-save for Northside for the time being. Bucky out. Seems like mid-control is finally their prerogative. However, Nixhorn, your gun barrel was seen well before the rest of your body was. A telegraph play, to say the very least, and Gothic wins a fight with a classic because that's the new goal.
A little bit of a miscommunication there. Rizmaster gets smoked off and chooses not to try to take site at the same time as Gothic X, so Gothic X winds up taking a 1v1 at Generator and dies to Gangi, holding down that site, and now all of the rotation has happened on A side here. The attackers have no idea where the defenders are. One rotation back over to B is probably smart, sending Face Moocher down to mid for a rotation for audio information. This breakout's going to be difficult. Oh, tried to find a pick there, and it's just dancing, but eventually dies.
Down A.
Another one back.
Last player standing.
Took him an extra fight, and that extra fight was the difference maker. Gangi is then focused on earlier. Maybe the round starts to go Northside's way, but no definitive notion on that, especially considering
Last
how
round
quick
in the half.
they were able to lock in the remaining members. And Northside have just had so many difficulties getting into sites since, I'd say, round 4, 5 maybe, and even then, we saw a couple retakes quickly go against them. This is a concerning end to what otherwise was a decent half for Northside.
And we just saw one ask for a timeout here from Gothic X. Let's see if that winds up taking fruition. I think that we are going to get a pause here, yeah. Perfect. So let's talk about what happened that last round. I think that it's kind of indicative of the entire reason that Northside is behind to begin with. They are having some issues communicating and making sure that they're on the same page, and having issues deciding who is going to be the aggressor at any given time. Rizmaster seems to like to play this bait play style where they do have really good aim and they're able to trade back kills pretty consistently, but they're never the one to entry, and they're playing the jet. So that being a problem with that A main execute there, they had a chance to take that entire site as they had numbers advantage and only one person was on site in Gangi, but unfortunately they just couldn't quite match up as Gothic X entered onto the site as Rizmaster got smoked off. Somebody wasn't talking there because Rizmaster should have walked through the smoke and tried to take that counter engage at Generator, but everything crumbled after that point. I think that their morale just kind of got shot and they didn't know where to go next. And so Havelock just said, okay, we're just going to play this very standard. Let's rotate people towards A site. Let's leave one at mid and then get picks because they're just taking ego fights at this point. Northside crumbles.
Hey, on the bright side, the statistic for deaths traded for everybody other than Rizmaster and Northside is going to be amazing. The issue is, Rizmaster's not finding untraded opening duels outside of the first, we'll say, 3 or 4 rounds of the game. And because of that, they've had so many difficulties finding clear and obvious opening picks or openings into these sites that otherwise they would be perfectly fine to retreat. That's a very good skill. That landed onto the Killjoy from distance. They're popping alongside that, the null command, and the lockdown. Everything being thrown into this last round of the half. You might as well use it before you lose it.
Yep. We're going to see a defense here on the plant. They actually paused the plant because they wanted to stuff out from the shadows. I think that anybody probably could have done that. You didn't need to stop your planter there. So the time advantage now is a little bit more favorable for the retake.
Couple that alongside the run-it-back and the Nightfall. Everything now being thrown back by the Havelock side, but they don't immediately clear B main. So Quandale Dingle finds 2, but Trash Boat, before their run-it-back expires, we'll see them find 2 of their own. 4chan with a very quick refrag. Good duo peek as well from the stairs and from Catwalk. Havelock have had much better communication as to when and or where they're engaging. That's been a very big catalyst to their success and to their 8-4 first half start on the defensive side of Ascent. By no means are they out of the woods, but this is certainly a good way to lock yourself into the second half.
We've seen the peak with me mentality enable countless retakes for Havelock, that allowed them to, I think I can count just off of memory alone, 3 times where Northside had the numbers advantage and lost it because they aggressed one person really far up and Havelock perfectly timed a double peak, enabling them for a, not only have a utility advantage at that point for other various reasons, but having numbers be even, making the retake a whole lot easier. Now, there was a little bit of a flub on not being able to stick the plant because they were worried about from the shadows, indicating even more of a communication issue from Northside. But I don't think that time would have even mattered for them. So 8-4 going into the next half, and Havelock has to have an attacking strategy.
Did we see another ace from Rizmaster? They've got a ghost. I mean, it's certainly possible. I've seen crazier things. Notably, I've seen multiple back-to-back aces. They picked up an ace and a 3K in consecutive rounds to start off this map. Who would I be to say they can't do it again? Or something similar again, we'll say. Nixhorn, they've been seen limited. They need to get out before they get swung by a small army. And they don't. So they die.
Look at all of this pressure mid. There are no smokes that are down. The smoker for the side of Northside is hanging out back in A heaven. It's not looking good. But Quandale Dingle does find a kill back onto Enigmatic. Numbers are even again. Plant is down for Havelock. Let's see if the retake from Northside can match that energy from Havelock. Right now, not looking strong.
Watch your eyes. Flash aggressive
So much for
Trash
recon.
Boat, but that aggression throws off Northside. They thought they had some space to work with. They do now, actually. They have site control. They could try and stick this defuse. What in the world is going on? How have they given away so much space? They're going to stick this all the way through. The lack of space on the site gives a free round in Northside. They go 2 for 2 on pistols, the second of which being an absolute gift. Christmas has come early for the Lions.
There's no way. Havelock sends 2 people
believe it.
so far deep into the back lines there. They didn't realize that there was people on site, or at least close enough to site, to deal with the people that you had holding site. Maybe that was a little bit too much trust in your teammates. Maybe that's a little too much communication. Obviously, that's no such thing as that, but I think that there probably could have been a little bit better coordination in ensuring that you had people on site. But I love the stick of the defuse, just diamond hands coming out from Gothic X.
Everybody wait for a second, though. Face Moocher has another Marshall.
Uh-oh.
So, all that advantage you thought Northside had, somebody's going to swing this with an ill-advised peek, and they're going to get headshot. Nixhorn, I don't know what they were doing, saying, hey, I exist, look at me. Flash around the corner, it's pretty good. But Run It Back now prepped on the B side without any help, by the way. So at this point, Nixhorn, with their back turned, will die to a headshot from Trash Boat before their Run It Back expires again. And it's free space and a free opening pick for only an ultimate.
Oh man, that
And they
angle
follow
was,
up with it.
oh my god, that angle was so good, and Quandale Dingle was too afraid to peek Trash Boat while he had to run it back out, and unfortunately that allowed the teammate to die. And of course, Trash Boat comes back, gets another one onto Quandale Dingle. A little bit of penalty for your sins there. Master able to take 2 out. That's impressive, but one on the backside. Gothic X did
One
hold
enemy
it down
remaining.
for him. Finds another one in Face Smoocher. Enigmatic's last standing.
He's had to give away so much space for it. He's actually been able to get to the catwalk. No, I thought he did. Gothic X becomes the unsung hero of that. Rizmaster finds 2 opening picks, but if Rizmaster does not survive there because Gothic X finds that refrag, not only do they have as much, or they don't have as much on-site pressure, but they don't force that rotation from B-main as quickly, you're probably going to have Quamps die early, and Northside at the end most likely would have lost the round. Again, a lot of if, ands, or buts, we're obviously presuming, but hey, to evaluate impact, sometimes presumptions are required.
Nixhorn's been doing a lot of funny stuff mid here. I get throwing your utility to just try to force the enemies back, but not peeking off of the flash, kind of just tossing the, the molly out. It seems like there's not a lot of definitive ideas happening from Nixhorn. He's just trying to feel out area instead of having a plan to take space.
Cover going out.
One notable issue we've seen is cohesion on the attacking side for both teams. The Killjoys just occupying Boathouse, patiently waiting, doing absolutely nothing, no noise, no indication they're here, no reason to swing for the time being. They will swing off their utility and wait accordingly. As of right now, however, they're baiting in their jet and it's working. Rizmaster finds the opening. The Patience somehow doesn't find an opening kill, but Quandale Dingle has the time to reload the shorty. They weren't close enough to find that pick they were looking for, but they could still find the kill they ever so hope they may be gifted. 4chan will get the spike down, but the Killjoy, still the wrench, somehow will still die, and it becomes a 4 versus 3 retake for Northside.
Quandale Dingle lived for so long. Gothic X takes out Trash Boat. Gengi finds Nixhorn on the back line there too. It's going to be close, 2 versus 3. Gothic X is trying to find an opening here. These angles are a little bit too tight. Wow, actually does find Enigmatic at the low health, but Gengi with the Vandal up there is going to take Gothic X down. Fox has to find an opening here. Ooh, that's not good. Gets grasped. Decay is live, but decreasing, and I like that. Just hold the cross, say peek off of me. 4chan Mao takes out Quamps.
That is a nightmare crossfire, by the way, because you cannot clear the stairs without first clearing the other stairs. And if you clear either set of stairs, the opposite side will see you and then kill you. There's just no way you easily clear that unless you have both players. They had to swing that as a pair before the other one died, and before they had to take a separate fight. And obviously, they just were not afforded the time. Granted, that was a pseudo bonus round, we'll say, considering the way the second round went. So by no means was it a round they were expected to win. Here, however, if they lose it, I'm going to say the game probably ends shortly thereafter. Havelock have looked really good with full weaponry. I'd be concerned if I'm Northside here, but if you win it, we're looking at a completely different scenario.
Hunt comes out trying to find information here. I like this. They stacked a lot of people on A. They're looking for information. They do know exactly where one is on A, and what they should do is throw a flash out here, but Rizmaster actually just traces the smoke, finds a headshot onto Gangi, and the one other person that they had that was going to ideally push up Cat or at least take a little bit of space mid, Trashboat decides to rotate back over, and now they've just kind of got 4 people hanging out in a numbers disadvantage with no space taken, and look who is coming up attacker spawn.
Oh, and they don't know it. They're not rotating through attacker spawn. They're going through mid, at least for the time being. Nixhorn, why don't you have a gun?
No, what are you doing?
That's the first question. Why aren't you looking in that direction? Flash is ready. He may save himself. He flashed himself. He's got a bucky. And that fight took years off my life. All right, it's a 4 versus 4. And all that space now taken by Quamst. And 4chan looks the wrong direction, but the refrag again found. What?
Yeah.
30 seconds
what
left.
exactly? They have an even numbers here, which means that they know that they'll probably have an advantage if they break out onto site immediately, and they do that. Face Moocher puts the plant down without actually clearing anything. I think just the idea that the turret wasn't live was enough information for him, and they finally get all the space that they're looking for here.
Cover going out.
This late rotation, though, from Northside. I'll get into that in a second. This one cost them a lot of space because of it. Nobody looking at door, though. They could give them some more time. Alarm bot goes skating through the top side of heaven, but doesn't find the tag, only finds the information. Face Moocher hears and sees the rotation, but it's a perfect bait for Quandale Dingle. Becomes a 1 versus 3. Watch for the nanoswarms on top of the spike. There is at least one there, but they'll spray it before it has the opportunity to go off. The smoke will go up as well. Rizmaster finds the refrag, and the spike will be defused. The one issue for Northside. That took way too long to set up. 1.8 seconds was the difference. Remember, they had a player from B main at attacker spawn. They had another one walking through the bottom of mid, and yet somehow there were still 2 people on or around the B site after both players died.
Yeah, that kind of looked like a mirror image of what we saw when they were flip-flopped on their sides, with Quandale Dingle on the defending side. When he was on the attacking side, obviously, he made, like, so much work happen there. Enigmatic couldn't quite make the same thing happen there because one person started the defuse while the other 2 people pushed and tried to kill Quandale, or excuse me, tried to kill Enigmatic. And they did succeed, and that's exactly how you would have liked to have seen it played out from both sides. But that said, 1.8 seconds, it's too close of a call.
Yeah, way too close.
What is happening?
And now, you have 3 players set up outside of A main. You have, for some reason, Northside set up a pseudo stack on B. You have an AFK Sova, because why not? And Havelock are going to walk in with virtually pistols, and they're going to get the site. And an opening pick as well from Trashboat. I'm at a loss for words. It's my entire job, and I'm at a loss for words.
Plant is down. Trashboat does find one on a Nixhorn as 2 more people come through the tree. Unable to find one more, Trashboat goes down to Quandale Dingle. Yeah, the guns are a little bit too powerful from the defending side here, but numbers are in favor of Havelock. They've got to break out quicker.
They've got a mid-rotator. He has no idea. Somehow still alive. Face Moocher takes a calendar year to set up that shot, but will still find it. The late Marshall play ends up working. But a bait onto the spike is going to work to swing out both players. Gothic will find the refrag, and with enough time, Northside again will win it, and for one of the few times I'll say this, they honestly just did deserve to. They gave away the site for free. They had a man disadvantage with full rifles against a Spectre, a Marshall, and pistols. And then in a 4 versus 3, nobody clears mid, nobody thinks about the rotation, but they still end up winning the fights. I'll say the mechanical skill was their saving grace on that one, and okay, that's it. That's all.
Yeah, that I agree with you. On everything that you said on all counts, I mean, definitely agree with you. And the only saving grace was the very end there. They knew where the last player was, and they decided to both peek at the exact same time instead of taking a one-to-one fight, and it's the only reason Northside wound up taking home the dub on that one.
So now, what does Havelock do? They finally have rifles. It only took them forever and a day to pick them up. But with these rifles, what do they end up making of them? A player has been heard in tree. Quamps is going to throw out an owl drone and see 4chan. They miss a firebolt, but there's the information they need. The re-swing from A main. How is 4chan alive? How does Quamps not swing that? How is Face Smoocher found 2, and the rotation sitting inside of Wine Cellar for Gothic X has turned a different frag? They will try and take the B side late. They'll use From the Shadows to take it for free, because nobody's actually actively sitting there. They rely too much on their utility, and they're going to lose this round. Wait,
no.
they're back-to-back. The Phoenix and the Killjoy were just back-to-back sitting in CT.
Interesting. Now, Gothic X does have From the Shadows. I think they're just going to rotate normally here. They don't want to do anything too risky, especially since there's not a lot of information, and there's a numbers disadvantage for Northside as they try to make a retake happen. Trashboat does find 1 on the wall bank to Gothic X. Rizzmaster trades it back on 4chan Lamau. Still numbers disadvantage for Northside.
They can recover it. Mechanical skill for both of these players is by no means something to scoff at. The issue is the time and the diversity of player position swing through the stairs position. There's one from Face Switcher. Becomes a 1 versus 3. Not much you can do there. You at least find 1, yeah, but Trashboat arguably better with the weaponry and still had some help sitting inside the site. 10-8. Havelock, they are the first to reach double digits.
Every time the Trashboat and Rizzmaster have a 1 versus 1, Trashboat winds up coming out ahead. Now, I thought for sure Rizzmaster was going to find that peak, but just cannot seem to find the headshot whenever they're facing Trashboat alone.
Specifically Trashboat. Everybody else wins that fight.
Yep.
Everybody else they win the fight against, but Trashboat's like their Achilles heel.
With a name like Trashboat, it's
Superman
hard. it's a hard pill to swallow.
If Trashboat was the one who would... If the name Trashboat was the person that would consistently kill me in a game, I'd be very upset with myself.
I think 4chan Lamau would be the one to get me.
That's also fair, yeah. I mean, Rizzmaster also.
Oh, that's pretty bad.
I feel like it's the battle of the names that would make me upset to lose to. The names themselves, the players are pretty great, but the names are certainly something. Again, these are high schoolers. Right? All of you are unfamiliar with the North Carolina high school system. Quandale Dingle, point blank with a classic, just right-clicks Trashboat. So say goodbye to your Phoenix and your top fragger with 25 kills through 18 rounds. That's not a great start. But Havelock still have a lot of time. There's 60 seconds on the clock. There's no reason to over-dedicate yourself to what is currently a losing battle. Yeah, you've given over a gun, but that may be all you have to give over. Enigmatic should be able to find out Nixhorn's here. They should also swing this fairly quickly before a flash becomes an important part, and yet somehow this fight hasn't finished yet. A fragment around the corner finds the lethal damage they were looking for. Null command as well with a Sheriff. Not an ideal position. He's basically down but not out. It's not PUBG, but may not have to be. Gangi makes it a 1 versus 3.5. We'll question how long that sustains. Wins a follow-up fight on Rizzmaster. As they don't stabilize the core of their KO, it becomes a 1v2 and Gangi has nearly full HP. But only 19 bullets in their Vandal with 15 seconds.
Why?
They have to run it, and I don't think they're going to have the time. 10 seconds, you need 4 to plant. The Omen's just going to wait and tree. The most cohesive patience play they need. They give the fight over. They almost give the round over. But it will be a round victory for Northside. With maybe a combined 15 health. Maybe.
I mean, Nixhorn with his 3rd kill of the game right there on the most out-of-pocket play I have seen today. That was absolutely absurd, and I'm so happy that that just happened.
So, what happens now? To combine that, there are 4 kills only on the Killjoy for Northside. So you've got 7 kills. The remaining 3 players have 19, 20, and 22, or numbers near that. Luckily, the 2 players who aren't fragging as high are still playing very well with their utility. The flashes have been good, the 0 points have been good. By no means is that something to note. But that KO, who only has 3 kills, is now sitting at the bottom of mid and has the freest of flanks onto the Omen. Unfortunately, the timing is just getting the better of them, and they may end up getting caught out because they gave themselves away before they had a free kill. And now, it's a 5v3.
Okay, Havelock actually, for the first time, I think this half, have a numbers advantage, and they're not letting it go to waste. They keep it rolling with 1 more on the Rizzmaster. Yeah, why not take a 1v1? You've got so many more people. Yeah, send Enigmatic in for another one. Okay, now it's a problem. Now it's looking a little unfortunate.
Last player standing.
Oh no, Quandale Dingle didn't have their gun up, but Gothic X still has time. Notably, From the Shadows is still active, so they could get out of this if they want to. They could also still take these fights. The issue is, alongside that Nightfall, you throw in a Prowler. This becomes much more problematic than you'd like.
Left.
You still win the follow-up fight.
Enemy
Trash
remaining.
Boat was trying a plant, but the lack of a sound cue doesn't actually bait Gothic X. Ironically enough, the lack of hearing ends up helping him. He'll throw a Paranoia, take the sound away on the other side, and uses Shadows to get away. He'll win the fight around the corner, and the Shrouded Step turns him in to the aim god himself, and he ties things up at 10 apiece. What a play from Gothic, and what a miracle of happenstance to save him from what was a baited play.
Yeah, I mean, Gothic X with an incredible play there. Now, Havelock, come on. Like, the mid-fights were pretty bad, right? Like, that wasn't great, but in a 3v1, taking these 1v1 fights is just egregious. Like, you know where the last person is. Trash Boat needs to pick up a gun that's not a Bulldog, first off, and then they definitely don't need to be taking a 1v1 fight out of something. Ooh, that was nice.
Joke's over.
There you
You're
go.
dead.
Maybe a second. Oh, timing almost getting the better of him. Grismaster needs to get out of this. Run it back being used. The lockdown's creating a Venn diagram around things, but the run it back ends up being shot in the middle of everything. A re-swing from Rizmaster makes it 3, but the lockdown ends up detaining only 1, and they have pressure on the backside of B main. Watch for this rush down from Rizmaster. They want the ace. They've basically locked in what could be a 6K, but no, Trash Boat will finally deny them. Doesn't matter though. 1 versus 3 for Gangi. This time they have a lot more time though. We've seen them almost lock in previous instances. I'd say this is still plausible of a round for them to win.
Yeah, this... Oh, man, Nixor's just gonna run into it, right?
Sleep.
Yeah, a little bit aggressive there. I like that, the play from Gangi just holding back. It's a 1 versus 3. But this is the whole issue, is that every time... It actually doesn't matter which team you're on. Both sides, 1 versus 3, it seems like they're just taking 1v1 fights the whole time and losing games, or losing rounds because of it.
Oh, and to couple
30
that,
seconds
they're giving
left.
away 1v1s on both sites. Gothic X is waiting in CT, and as of right now, the Killjoy, Wandale Dingle is just waiting on Heaven. Gangi will have to rush this. Now, notably, there is Killjoy utility, but because Killjoy is outside the effective radius, it will not become active, nor will it give away any triggers. But it won't be activated by the Prowler either. Gangi will just barely get by. The Nanoswarm can still be remotely activated, but they want to try and plant off the back of their haunt. They won't get it down quickly enough, however, and Gothic X will swing off the back of it. 11 now for Northside. The Nightfall from 2 rounds ago has given Northside back-to-back rounds, and now Havelock are down for the first time since, I think, round 2, if I'm doing my math correctly. Round 3, technically.
Yeah, I think you're dead on. This game feels anything but even, by the way. Like, I don't know how it's so close. It feels like every round is just such like an absolute cluster mess of like disproportion, and somehow it's 10 to 11.
I'm here for it. I want OT. Give me more.
Yes.
Trash Boat's gonna swing this. Stinger in hand. Oh, but Point Blank will lose to the Operator. You'd think you'd want the Stinger Point Blank, but 1 shot's all it takes when you have the Operator in hand. This is a crazy start, but there's Face Smoocher with a Marshall. I thought they were gonna bring the Outlaw to this one, but they decided instead to stick with the, we'll say, Law rather than the Outlaw. Sit it there. Havelock, however, made it a 4v4. And with this reswing from the bottom of Cat, does this end up finding timing? No, he just barely sees a shoulder before it disappears.
That's going to be important, too. Nixhorn is now holding mid with no pushing in, even though they have full information that site has been taken by Havelock. So they get all of site here.
Wait, he's still sitting held. They didn't clear him. They had no idea. They thought he uses the Shrouded Step to get up to Heaven, and the bait ends up working perfectly. Gangi makes it a 1 versus 3 from the 1v4, but has to look every direction, finds a second kill, low HP up above. This is a body shot only, but misses the one they were looking for. And remember, the KO on only 3 kills is on a late rotation through mid. So for the time being, this is a 1 versus 1, but Gangi knows it and instead will turn their direction. Unfortunately, it ends up costing them. They had to value Rizmaster more in that scenario, and they don't. It costs them the round. Northside will go on to match point, and what could have been is now what could be down the line.
This is the first time that Northside took a 2 versus 1 peak. And especially it's the first time that Nixhorn not only communicated with his team, but also made a really good play. And I think that maybe hanging out in mid for that long was a little bit risky. But Rizmaster waiting for Nick's horn and both of them going at the same time to push on the person generator, that was good. That was good coordination. Yeah. And I think that could be what wins them the game if they can take home this round.
So a 3.5 stack on B. You got one player, we'll say mostly playing B, but kind of airing things towards mid. But a 0 point missing there could bait over a rotation to A because it finds absolutely no information. A lack of information is technically, if you use the process of information of itself. However, that kill there even more important than any guesswork you could find, and Rizmaster knows it. They wanted to try and set up a one-way with that, but they said, we'll just back away. They don't have to play for that close engagement. However, they've been walled off by their team. Okay.
Classic play right there. Northside with another classic. Certified banger. Now, we've got 4, again, still hanging out towards B and market with just a very, very defensive positioning and tree from Gothic X. I think this is fantastic. You play for audio, you know that you'll eventually hear them plant, and you're not in a place where you're going to get pushed on unless somehow they got up heaven and then come down tree for you, which is, again, unlikely without noise.
Yeah. His patience could work 40 seconds, possibly on Havelock's run in this map of Ascent. But by no means are they out of this one. KO walking towards B with their knife out. Why wait, and then just to take your knife out and sprint around the corner? There's no discernible reason for that. And the problem is, because you're seen there, it gives away free info in that opposite direction. For some reason, you're also smoking off Cat, so it seems like a mid to B, maybe a B main to B. They've taken forever to set up this decision, though. With 12 seconds left, they still have to run through Killjoy utility. From the Shadows is going to be used. How long is the deploy time on this? They need 4 seconds to plant. Will he have it? Just barely, but he won't initiate in time. They lose because they run out of time. I cannot believe this is how Havelock lose. No. I can't believe it. He runs into Boathouse. Wait.
My goodness. Yeah, you take a moment for yourself.
Havelock.
Wow. Literally, I was going to say they threw away that game, but they threw themselves in the trash at the same time. That was just holy wow. Okay, let's try to break down what happened at the very end there. Let's just try.
Okay.
Nick's horn. I don't want to talk about it. Evens up the numbers, and the re-engage onto site. They were spread out with 30 seconds remaining. They were all over the place. Like they had 2 people mid, they had 2 people like around B main. No execution on site, no information on the opponents, no utility to try to start the engage, no smokes are down. So what happens, instead of coordinating a fight in that very last 30 seconds, coming down to 20 seconds to get onto site and push together, instead they use From the Shadows to push themselves into the back of site just in the nick of time to plant.
Mm-hmm.
They don't.
And he runs into Boathouse. And runs out of time. It was about half a second. That was the difference. I don't hate a couple things. Number one, I don't hate the re-engage onto B. That's a good decision. I liked From the Shadows. They had enough time. That was perfectly fine. The problem was they didn't have any extra help, and they took too long to make that decision. They had the kill on B. It's either you go off of that immediately, or you sprint to A, hoping that a rotation is going to B. They decided to combine that, smoke off Catwalk for absolutely no reason, and then go B 15 seconds later. That was the issue. It was taking way too much time on the attacking side. That was basically the story of Havelock on that second half. The other thing I want to talk about, back in, I think, round 20, to make things 10-10, I want to bring this up again because it is the most absurd thing I think I've ever seen. So a Nightfall is thrown to Gothic X, who is in a 1 versus 3 sitting in Hell below the site, or technically even with the site below the Heaven position. Because the Nightfall lands, they lose their hearing. Now, usually, that's a bad thing. You like to hear footsteps, you like to hear shots, you like to hear spike plants. But because he lost his hearing, after he found that opening pick, a baited spike plant to his left, which usually you'd hear right here, was not actually heard. And because he didn't hear it, he wasn't baited by it. So it was basically like the Phoenix just took himself out of the fight for an extra 4 seconds. And the spike didn't actually get planted in that same engagement. It is my favorite individual piece of tech I have ever seen. That is an ironic blessing disguised as a curse that turns it into a fight victory because he then throws a deafening blow himself with a paranoia. throws out a shadow step, which is not heard because he deafened the Phoenix himself, and then gets around the opposite side of the generator without any way of that information being given over, because not only was the Phoenix nearsighted, he was also deafened by the paranoia. The lack of hearing from two separate agents onto two different agents was the most unique way a round I think has ever ended in a 1v3 that I've seen. A chaotic game personified by a chaotic round and closed by, you guessed it, a chaotic end. 13-10 will go the way of Northside. They will take our first game of the day. We're going to take a break. When we come back, our second match of the day before we close things out in the Southeastern Conference. We'll see you in a bit. One game down, still one very much left to go here in the Southeastern Conference of the Varsity Esports and STEM League of North Carolina High Schools. I'm Time to Light. That right there is Kevin with a K, and Washington and New Bern, our next two contenders to step up to the plate. Also headed to Ascent in this one. I gotta say, a little bit less chaotic is surprisingly something I'm hoping for here, Kevin.
Yeah, I definitely want to see a little bit more traditional setup or execution maybe would be nice. Yeah, immediately thrown out the window with a Yoru Cypher lock-in. I guess Cypher's not that out of the ordinary for Ascent in 2024, but you know, we don't usually see Sky on this map that often. And Clove, new character finally locked in.
This is the first time I'm seeing Clove. Very fun. I gotta say, I have seen Clove in practice. I have yet to play against Clove in any matchmaking games, but no, that's a lie. I have played against a Clove, and I'm 1-0 against Clove, so I'm better. But seeing Clove, very fun piece of utility. My favorite balancing thing for Clove is that you cannot activate the ultimate. Alright, I don't think you can activate the ultimate in a 1 versus 1 because the round technically ends before you have the ability to then re-engage.
Right here.
So it doesn't become a 1 versus 1, and then if you lose it, you basically get like a second chance. You have to have a teammate alive to use it, I think. I'm going to fact check myself on that one, actually.
I think that has to be correct, because they can't just wait for the timer of when you would be able to use Not Dead Yet to come back up, so I think you're right. I think they have to use it with one teammate alive, otherwise, and if they try to use it after the round ends, I'm sure they can, but they just waste it.
Let's see. Yeah, looks like it. You have to have a teammate alive or the round has to not have ended. That's why. So if you're in a 1v1 and the spike has been planted, then you can activate it as long as you're on the attacking side of the spike being planted or you're on the defensive side. Oh, no, not if you're on the defensive side, though, because technically the round wouldn't end. So the round has to technically still be active for you to use it. I like that balancing change.
Okay, so and it gets locked out at the round end then?
Yes.
Okay.
You can't unend the round. That would be wild. Where my dad trying to make themselves Washington's dad. I don't know where I'm going with that one. Already a 5 versus 2 at the spike play. Pretty good start for New Bern. Will we see a Jet Ace on the attacking side of Ascent in back-to-back rounds? Or back-to-back maps, sorry. Let's see if that happens to start things off. Pookie on said Clove. Looks like they will try and re-engage. They're just going to back up. Are we going to see a save on Pistol?
No. Maybe just trying to die to the bomb. I mean, they're going to definitely look for some outro picks here, if anything, but I'd be surprised to not see them try at least get some
Last player standing.
Ace. Jet Ace and back-to-back pistol rounds to start off each map? No, not able to die. Technically, a Jet found 5 kills because Naughty is a Jet and killed the opposing Jet. So I'm going to say it's close enough, but not as close as I would have liked. Unfortunate finish for at least specifically Where My Dad 46. However, still a round victory for New Bern. They're supposed to be more than happy with that, we'll say.
Yeah, that was just a good execution. This was kind of what I was hoping to see, is just solid execution on the site, and then holding down the site, holding down good angles, not taking free picks. They got 2 entry picks, and were able to hold down the post plant. I obviously like playing into a numbers disadvantage. 5v3 and then 5v2 is not fantastic as the defenders, but you have to make something happen with a little bit more gusto in a pistol round. They weren't able to make that happen.
So we'll see second look at Clove on this side.
Drop in a
So
smoke.
a couple smokes being prepped here. The problem is those smokes don't give away sound cues, kind of like you'd see on the other side. The benefit, the ultimate orbs in B main do give away sound cues, so Pookie's very much aware of the fact that this is being set up. The problem is, this doesn't look like they're going to be able to do all that much with it. The decay does land onto only the Sova, but the opposite side of that decay effect is much quicker to regenerate health than it is for most other heroes, most agents that it's thrown out by. And we see 2 more kills by the Jet, already starting off with a bang in yet another.
Okay, I like not re-smoking that, probably because their smoker was dead at that point, but it did allow 2 kills, like you said, to come out for Where My Dad. I keep wanting to say Where's My Dad, but nope, just Where My Dad. 46. We got
That becomes
3
too real.
before we engage.
Recon bolt through the CT, but I mean, you've got 2 players walking through, caught out by the trap that Naughty just walked straight through, apparently not caring. The problem is, with his telegraph, it's given away. Wait, there's no way he hit the trap too, right? What? Swing with the Vandal. 1 pound, 2 found. ADS works in that scenario. The problem is they're taking too long for this. If they wanted to go for the spike, they should have done so many seconds ago. Everybody's gonna die to the spike now. Nobody will be safe. Everybody goes down. Okay. Newbern took too long to get out, and Washington took too long to get in.
Naughty has probably the worst ratio of bad crosshair to good aim that I've ever seen. That was a nice double kill there, but my god, the movement error is just too much for me.
So I even play with like a Valorant type crosshair when I play Overwatch. That's how locked into that lack of movement error I am.
We're gonna see getting into round 3, bonus round for New Bern, but their executions have been really solid. I like that every time they've not given any information away, they've actually just started in their spawn and then run it down as 5.
Hey, I mean, you have a player advantage when you run it down as 5, or at least statistically you would.
Wow.
There's another opening. This time the Blaze Storm isn't popped till round 3. At least isn't activated till round 3. Somehow point blank the shorty works. That's a miracle if you're not seen. And the spray through, they haven't been shot back at. Aquaboy staying liquid, or we'll say staying passive.
That was incredible. Where My Dad has got to be the best player we've seen today. That play was great. Hopping out of the smoke, using Bladestorm right-click to just get a kill really quickly, then backing up, then dashing in with the dash, actually, towards staircase, with a shorty in hand, getting in the smoke, finding another one, got the Vandal right afterwards. Just such, like, great entry. That's the best Jet entry we've seen all day.
I must wait a moment.
On a bonus, mind you.
Oh, and Aquaboy has the Vandal. But unfortunately not going to be able to do much with it. Open kill is picked up, yeah, sure. You are still forcing Newbern to wait on and around this site. 2 kills now found. This is going to become an expensive round for Newbern if they don't get out. Make it 3, question mark? Everybody died from Newbern again. Somehow Washington loses the round and they're the only team to keep a player alive. And Newbern apparently just doesn't like saving credits. Are they teaching a financial literacy class at Newbern High School? These players skipping it to play Valorant?
This is
ironic.
Peak confidence, maybe? After that entry, I mean, it's kind of hard to see that you're losing this game because Where My Dad just is on lock. And then the rest of the team follows up very nicely. Getting onto the site and not letting Where My Dad just die, and like letting all the entry go for naught, is a crucial part to playing on any team environment. Communication is clearly there, coordination also.
I got this.
Quick usage of the Trailblazers. They are walking in off the back of it, but no, Where My Dad caught by the tripwire and dies courtesy of Aquaboy, who has been on a roll lately. The problem is they're smoked off. They have to walk through it to find a kill. Do they clear the corner? Wait a second, they don't. Not immediately. They don't actually swing off the back of their opening pick, and they'll walk through a second time. A dark cover is keeping them safe for the time being, and the Jet inside the smoke dies to Cyborg Tiger, their second kill of the round. But the re-engagement quick by the Clove, they'll find 3 in the process, and try to set up a 4th, they don't have to. Angier will find one of their own. Washington's on the board, in the most unsuspecting way possible, a casual 3-piece from their Clove.
3-piece with Guardian headshots. Who knew we were going to see that type of aim coming out from Pookie? For their first 3 kills of the match, mind you. So, on the board is correct, and a eco round of sorts has to come out from New Bern on their first loss. See what they're going to do. I think they're just going to all hang out in base again, and then run it down B.
So, 3-1. New Bern finally shut down for the time being, but in all fairness, Where My Dad died immediately. So, possibly something changes here, hopefully at least for New Bern fans. Where My Dad will not die immediately. They will, however, send it in a very similar way. Recon Bolt thrown to the back of the site. They'll find a Trailblazer through, and the Recon Bolt actually finds the tag onto the Clove sitting inside of Market. So the site has been taken for free.
My Dad backed up here, though. Gets flashed. I think they want to push into the smoke. Where My Dad is just on the outside of the smoke is the right place to be. They're afraid of the smoke, which is honestly surprising. You usually don't see that. But Where My Dad gives them a reason to be. Takes 2, but Naughty gets the kill right back. Still a great entry. So much position was taken. Cypher Tiger takes out Naughty. And again, all down to these last 2 getting hit by the Cypher trip, pushing into B main off this late flank.
Usually the B main flank needs to be set up by a teammate who's still alive elsewhere, and you need to, I don't know, not be seen. That's kind of an important part of a flank. At least the element of surprise. Spooners with the ghost out. 0 point will land on the multiple
One
players,
enemy
so at least
remaining.
some ability to get back in, but Aquaboy's in a 1 versus 3 with 15 HP. I've seen crazy things, that's not going to be added to the list of them. 4-1 New Bern. They lose one and immediately come back with a vengeance. Nice little two-piece by their Jet as well. Coincidentally, Jet doesn't die immediately, they win the round. It's a pretty safe way to play things.
No hesitation from the side of New Bern there, which is fantastic. Washington actually had set up 4 people on A site, expecting them to go back over there, going for hard reads instead of standard setups. And what that allowed New Bern to do is, even though they got there late because that's their game plan, they were able to use their Trailblazer to get information, and they did not hesitate. As soon as they saw nobody on site, they just did a classic entry and got onto site normally without any sort of fear or repercussions at that point. Where my dad got 2 and then took all the space in the world. They're looking to make it happen again with the same exact way.
Oh, they jump in. Oh, 0 point was thrown well timed, but it wasn't actually needed. Pookie finds the fight before the 0 point even goes off. With the reswing through, great usage of the metal. Finds all 3 members sitting inside of B main. They follow it up with a headshot, so the metal's not even needed, but they'll just try and send themselves off the back of it. How quickly do they initiate here? Barrel of the gun seen, and Seekers end up finding Pookie, who's still alive, by the way. They'll finally be taken care of, but they'll end up activating finally at long last. We'll see it, but it's not gonna matter. Oh, maybe it will. McLaren has found the spike. They'll get it back onto the site. The Neuro Theft will expose the fact that it's a flank through B main again, and it becomes a cohesive 2v.
But there's 3 this time instead of 2. I think there's something cooking here. They push out. Oh man, and Cyborg Tiger just grabs 1 because they did not coordinate.
One enemy remaining.
Who is still hanging out in B main? Why is he still there? Push with your team. Game zone.
Oh no. And Game Zone's just gonna die. They don't have a smoke protecting them in the rotation all the way around to heaven. Game Zone had no idea. Cyborg Tiger's just waiting on the steps of the market. Finds a free 3rd on the round. Not dead yet was not that impactful, unfortunately. They do activate it, make it a little bit more concerning, and they do delay the spike plant. But if the team swings off the back of not dead yet there, then they win the round. Period, end of story. They win the round. It would have been what was maybe a 4 versus 1. Technically could have been a 3 versus 1, depending on if Pookie actually gets that kill. But honestly, you need to win that. You need to win that. You have to have some help.
Momentum is entirely in the favor of New Bern as they set up the exact same play again with seemingly no adaptation coming out from Washington. They do place a tripwire here nicely, a little bit more angled than I think I've seen it before. They set up at round 1 or 2, and Cyborg Tiger is going to hit it, but they weren't prepared to kill. So Cyborg Tiger actually trades 1 out before dying. There my dad does take out Aquaboy.
They just not re-engage off the back of it. They've got a flank coming through. Everybody's running with their knife out. There's a cloudburst behind them, and Nani somehow doesn't get immediately seen. They're then killed. Neural Theft is used. Both players are seen. There's going to be a second download of information, so Pookie will certainly be noted a second occasion, and the A site is free for the taking. This is a dream round for New Bern.
Everything that they could have wanted, exactly right. No rotations coming out from Washington yet. Probably the right choice. Just play together. You've got 2 people, and you need to try to take out anybody that maybe is over-aggressing or is on site by themselves, possibly. But 2v4 is an uphill battle. So Just Grace is going to plant at Dice with somebody holding the plant. Very nice, very classic, as Pookie lays down a smoke on A main.
They're both walking in the same direction. What is that?
Insane.
Pookie just casually flicks. 1 tap's all you need sometimes, and they'll pick up the overheal off the back of it. Fragment thrown, damage done, kill not immediately off the back of it, but Pookie makes it a 1 versus 2. Low HP, but they still have the opportunity to get on the spike. They bait out the swing, but both players swinging. There's no way to win each fight at the exact same time. You hit insane shots, not both, at least not in one breath. 6-1 New Bern, and on a roll to start off a set.
Pookie actually had a really great play there with that smoking off A main, peeking off of their teammate, and then whenever Spooners was hiding behind the wooden box there, unable to kill the Sova very quickly and taking most of your health and damage, I think is really what actually caused a big issue. Not being able to kill another person and then use your heal ability to get back up to snuff. made it really, really difficult to win that essentially, 1v4, but more realistically like a 1v3. So it was a good play from Pookie, but unable to close it out.
Now, basically an A rush on the cards, and unfortunately Aquaboy has segmented themselves away alongside the dark cover, making their lives infinitesimally more difficult.
Spike planted.
This is just not a great position for them to be in. That's a good cyber cage. You can use that to re-engage. The problem is another dark cover will make it so it's nearly impossible. This will be a full 5v5 retake, though.
Where my dad's got a great angle here. They do get the cage down. This is great if they can start to make some motion off of it. Where my dad is just going to get a lot of value. Gets a little scared. Drops back to my generator. Pookie is seen by the dart. And now we're just resetting the re-engage. Dropping down. And he goes down.
Problem is everybody went towards heaven. Not a single player is walking through tree. There's no extra additive to this take. Just Grace wins that fight onto Aquaboy. Nobody's sitting ninja. Pookie hops on the spike, but they're immediately taken care of. They'll try to keep themselves alive. The problem is there's just not enough time. That's not an ultimate that you use to give yourself an opportunity at winning the round. You would have lost it anyway. And now everybody dies. Sure, you pick that one up, but you also pick up a Brazil. It's 7-1 New Bern.
Game Zone is clearly a little bit less experienced than some of the other players. I don't want to hold that against them. It is a high school after all, so unable to press onto the site at the same time as their team, and they just wind up dying to the bomb at the very end there, going for a late engage. It's a little bit difficult there whenever you think you might have a sort of, even numbers, or at least enough numbers to aggress and take out one. But ultimately, what the crux of that round was that New Bern got a fantastic engage, held down the site, and took out everybody with fantastic positioning and not playing anything over aggressively.
Flash through. Nobody swings out the back of it, though. And unfortunately, Washington seemed to stack the wrong site every time. How that is statistically happening is beyond me. Metal will land and will do 90 decay damage onto everybody. But the only one really impacted by it is McLaren. Good swing from Pookie finds a second. They want a third, they'll find it. What a second shot to pick up all three, and they've given themselves a reasonable opportunity. There's also a flank being set in, and they'll walk into Spooners, who looks away at the worst possible time. This becomes a 1 versus 4. Ace on the cards, maybe no, it doesn't happen. Pookie dies. And a 1 versus 3. Cyborg Tiger's also on for the ace. We could see a 4-can and ace in the same round. The Seekers will be thrown through before the 0-point lands. Alongside that, the spike is sitting in B main, but Cyborg Tiger doesn't immediately win the fight, so it becomes a much more problematic round, except for the fact that Andrew's swinging for absolutely no reason. It becomes a 1v1. A true 1v1 as Aquaboy has to re-swing themselves. Vandal out for both players. Aquaboy wants to take it immediately, but will lose it at the end of the day. A 1v4 with an ace on the cards for Pookie. They lose it. Cyborg Tiger, 1v4s for an ace of their own. And New Bern are up 8-1.
You gotta feel a little bad for Pookie, right? Getting a 4K to open it up, leaving only one person alive for the other 3 members of your team. Actually, 4 members of your team to close out. And they all take 1v1 fights. The very end, I think, is the most egregious, right? They both did come out together. They got seen by the Seekers, and so they got caught shooting the Seekers, but they both still lived. Repeat to get the bomb together. It was a guaranteed round win, and unfortunately, they just couldn't make it happen. Big props, of course, to Cyborg Tiger for hitting those headshots.
The recon bolt's thrown alongside the Trailblazer. Pookie's seen by both, yet repositions to Tetris without making any noise. Combine that with the fact that the 0-point saw 4 players on the A side. You can look at the rotation for yourself. Washington has 4 members on the B side of the map, but the swing through mid, Cyborg Tiger wins yet another fight against Aquaboy. Odes of our previous round to lock in the ace, this time locks in the opening pick. And New Bern basically have a free way onto the B site unless they walk through the market door. Problematic timing could end up going against them, but they could also just take it for free, and they do. They've basically taken the B site for free.
Cyborg Tiger making a lot of work happen here, finding a lot of opening picks, but where my dad is actually able to push in the very back, take out Dottie, and just hold down all of CT. They can't even rotate here without the information going down. So either it's going to be a flank or they're going to be coming through market, but guess what is definitely not a risk market at all because the door is still shut.
Where my dad willingly just threw out the last of their blades for no particular reason. Sure, go for it, I guess. They have locked themselves into the market stairs, and Boogie's gonna have to swing through this. They have a flash to set this one up. They have an opportunity, where my dad will completely avoid it, and they swing straight to Cyborg Tiger, where my dad re-swings it, and 50 HP for game zone is all that remains between New Bern and 9. A 1v5 ace clutch from a Yoru who I don't know if I've seen them tally up a kill yet. And it won't happen. Flawless 9th round for New Bern. And it just looks like they own Ascent.
Yeah, owning Ascent is definitely right. This is really difficult. Cyborg Tiger and Where My Dad both at different times making entry plays happen. They don't even need to have a kill on their Sova. So in terms of having somebody on each team that isn't actually putting any numbers on the board, each team does have one. Each team also has a person that's just got 2 kills. The difference is you've got 2 carries actually from New Bern, whereas you only have 1 for Washington. But more importantly, you have coordinated engages happening here from New Bern and uncoordinated retakes happening from Washington.
No peeking.
So, a rush sounds like it's on the cards towards this B side. The one issue with that is there are basically 3 players waiting here for it. The issue, however, for Washington, they don't have the weaponry for this. Luckily, a metal lands properly and will do the decay damage they need to build off the back of it. And if they don't rush this quickly enough, they could give away nearly everything with this play. 4 players seen with the neural theft a second time. Naughty with the swing back through B main, finds 3 headshots with a Sheriff. And it becomes a 1v5 for Where My Dad. We've seen crazy things. An opening kill will only be added to that possible tally. Near flawless eco round for Washington.
Last round before the
dream
switch.
way of hopefully bringing back the momentum in this game.
TTL, they finally did it. They stacked the right site, and they got a lot for it, honestly. I think it was very good for New Bern to, as soon as they got the first pick, or as soon as they lost the first pick, I should say, they picked up the gun and tossed it back.
Right
They
here.
did not want New Bern, or they didn't want Washington having any additional ammo to fight back at them with. They didn't even need it. All of the kills happened with pistols off of an incredible flank from Naughty.
Time to hunt.
Another rush. I feel like New Bern have just set up 5 rounds, or round after round, just a rush after rush. And honestly, most of the time it's worked. I don't hate the decision, especially when some utility on the other side hasn't been all that consequential. They've gotten mid control already. Pookie will take a fight with Where My Dad. They'll lose it. They'll attempt to again pop out not dead yet. This time they'll survive early, but they have to take a fight before it expires. They don't realize that time is expiring before that may very well end up going against them. Yes, they win the fight. Yes, they will if they take away that timer that would have expired. But it becomes a 1 versus 3 for Aqua Boy. Their position is noted via the neural theft. And honestly, and more importantly, the spike is down, and they don't have any positional advantage. That and the smoke up should just quickly spell the end of this one. Cyber Tiger easily wins the fight. 10-2 New Bern after the first half, and I don't see this game lasting very
Switching
much.
sides.
We do have a side switch, and if it's any indication like the last game we saw, it's possible we just see a wide swing in the other direction. Maybe both teams just have a big struggle defending. I don't really see that happening because it seems to be coming down to more than just strategy. I think even the coordination, maybe you could say it could lag on defense more so than offense. But it doesn't discount the fact that Cyborg, Tiger, and Where My Dad are both hitting shots. Shots. And Pookie is keeping up for sure, but at some point, it just comes down to how many people you have that are hitting shots. And New Bern seems to have that advantage.
Yes.
So the pistol round to virtually lock things in. New Bern wins this. It is a very high statistical likelihood that they will then win the map shortly thereafter. If they lose it, this game could take, we'll say, a little bit longer. 10-2, and Naughty, we were talking about their crosshair. Here it is as they walk in. Chaos and green and movement, I think, is the more important
Here,
part of that.
spike
Cyber
down,
Tiger
B.
wins the opening fight, and
Here.
top fragger already gone for Washington. That could be the game shortly following.
Yeah, Where My Dad grabs Naughty. Only 2 more left to go. Game Zone actually does get one back. Might have been the first of the game for them. They were in the zone until Cyborg Tiger took them right out of it. Andy R2D27 is going to fall for the last one. Now, I want to talk a little bit about what happened there. Washington wanted to implement the exact same strategy that New Bern had, which is a late hit on B. But everything they did was just so much more timid. They did not execute on together. Naughty did not dash on the site. They were a little bit too afraid to do so. And then they just they tried to walk on together, and the trip didn't even get hit before the first person got taken out. So it's not like the defensive utility was a big problem. It was just that they weren't playing together, and they didn't execute the strategy of getting their entry to create space.
Yes, this should do.
Honestly, here, even if the entry does create space, do they win the fights? It has mostly come down to gunfights in a lot of these. That and manpower. It does help when you have player advantages. We've even seen Washington take advantage of that. But this opening pick could, again, decide similarly how the round ends itself. You've got 3 players waiting over towards this A side. I don't think any of them have been seen. The first one wasn't even noted by the 0 point quickly enough, so all that dedication may just go for naught. And they've made so much noise. This rotation is virtually already here. There's an outlaw for Where My Dad, and nobody has anything more than 125 HP. So that's a one-shot body shot for nearly everybody on the team. A free swing from McLaurin, and this game's over. At least nearly so. 12-2, 10 straight required of Washington. And New Bern keep 4 players alive going into their bonus.
Things to do.
Yeah, a miracle comeback would be necessary here. A couple of things that could have happened there, just in case these players watch this back. Game Zone did have Flash in hand for a lot of that round, decided not to use it, but the dark cover McLaurin had placed on A main could have very easily been flashed out of, and they could have executed together, whether or not Naughty decided to fashion a site. But really, a big core issue here is that they are playing too timid to get on the site, and Naughty is not willing to take the space with Jet Dash. They're not willing to play aggressive, and with the comp that they have to be either willing to gate crash onto site or dash onto site, or some combination of the two to create chaos. Otherwise, you're just not getting value.
So again, herd of elephants have been heard in A main, and because of it, New Bern, you can see them rotating over. One player's sitting heaven, a second tree, and a third player's rotating into heaven right now. Good usage of utility already. Smokes have gone down. They have eliminated a lot of this. The problem is, the Odin doesn't particularly care about vision. You can just errantly spray and find the top fragger of your opponents without vision even required.
Where My Dad has just snuffed out the fact that they're timid and has decided to stand in the middle of heaven and just spray the Odin through the smoke, and not even afraid of this flash, just waiting right here, backing it up, and it's just going to spray with the Odin. There's no response here, right, from Washington. They're just going to keep getting taken out because they're not willing to peek out and try to take the most fight. They just keep looking at different angles, but that aside, I mean, numbers disadvantage is already a problem, and Where My Dad
Defenders
is going to send Naughty away.
Nice 4K to close things. And I honestly have to say that was, we'll say, coming eventually. But the fact is there's still a lot of availability for the opposing side to at least return with some vengeance down the line. Some of the mechanics were there. That's the important part. We saw some pretty good utility usage in terms of smokes. The one thing I'd like to see, better initiating utility rather than controlling utility. You talked about it a round prior. A flash there could have been perfect. You can't spray errantly if you don't know the general area of what you're spraying at. You can't spray at a general area if you're blinded by the light. And there, you could have walked in off the back of that utility. The fact that you don't is probably the final nail in that coffin. But I don't think just utility would have changed that game. It was 13-2 for a reason. It may have made it like 13-4, 13-5, but it still certainly would have been a win on the other side.
Yeah, and we'll talk about just for a second. New Bern did a fantastic job. I think they played really well together. And as far as whether or not Washington could have made a comeback with different various options, New Bern showed why they were the better team today. They were coordinated, they were communicating, and they used all of their agents in exactly how they're supposed to be used. Jet creating space on the site, Sky acting as a second man in, and using utility to clear things out. Even in the players that didn't wind up getting a lot of kills, like Spooners, did get a lot of value out of using drone. Maybe that's their teammate calling it out for them, and maybe they just know how to use utility a lot better than they know how to shoot. But in either case, they were able to execute with their team and make a lot of work happen without it just being all up to Where My Dad and Cyborg Tiger. So fantastic stuff from New Bern, very cohesive. Washington can watch this VOD back and get a lot of information, a lot of value out of here that doesn't necessarily just come down to gunfights, but couldn't help to hop into AIM Labs or Kovacs.
Yeah, and you're also talking about that and saying you can hop into AIM Labs or Kovacs. Bren said it best, this is a first-person shooter. It's a shooter, you shoot, you die. Sometimes that's all you need at the end of the day. Very well played from Cyborg Tiger. Where My Dad, extremely mechanically gifted. The clutch factor was certainly there for New Bern. They showed that in a big way. The team can still step up even better down the line, and they're an even more dangerous team. But they have the basics, they have the mechanical skill, and we saw them play well with utility. A 13-2 is very well deserved and earned at the end of Ascent the second time. Two very different games on this day of Valorant. The Southeastern Conference, however, has come to an end for the first week of play. These qualifiers, however, will go for the next 4 consecutive weeks. Every Wednesday, you'll see some Valorant starting here at about 7 p.m. Eastern-ish. Don't forget, we also have 5 other streams going all around that same time. 6 p.m. Eastern is also the time I'm being told by my producer, not 7 p.m. Eastern. I was thinking because I'm Central Time. Don't mind me. Don't forget also, we have Smash Bros. On Thursdays, Rocket League on Fridays, and more qualifier action going throughout the next month and change. We'll see you hopefully for every one of those broadcasts over the next 4 weeks.
Alrighty, we'll see you guys soon. Catch me tomorrow. I'll be on Smash, casting some more fantastic games. And I've been Kevin with a K.
Good time to light. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.